Cheryl Hopkins is an astrologer, mentor, and channel of expanded frequency. In hindsight, her journey began early before she had concepts or identified framework for what she wished to understand about her life and herself. That orientation was seeded decades after a gift of an astrology session with her future mentor. She became a devoted apprentice in astrology, energy medicine, and spiritual wisdom, going on to study with the leading professionals in astrology and metaphysics with spiritual teachers. She is a level 2 graduate of Stephen Forrest Evolutionary Astrology Apprenticeship Program. Cheryl has consulted with clients over 20 years and enjoys mentoring others seeking to deepen their understanding of astrology. She has presented at regional, international, and online conferences and has been the program director for the East Coast chapter of National Council for Geocosmic Research, the NCGR. She seeks to empower others through her work. Cheryl lives in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Charlottesville, Virginia area. You can contact her at Cheryl@astrologyempowers.com. Hi, Cheryl. I'm so excited you're here.
Hi, Sally. I'm very, very happy to be here. And I want to just say thank you for conceiving this, for attempting to shine a light that could be beneficial and helpful to people as we deal with where we are right now, just in humanity's evolution. It's a bumpy ride.
It is a bumpy ride, isn't it? Yeah, that's why when I happened on to you, I was, wow, where has she been all my life? And then we had this great conversation, so we really connected.
You realize that conversation went on for well over 2 hours.
Did it really?
Yes,
because
I remember looking at the phone when we started, and it was around 9-ish something. And when I got off the phone, it was like quarter of noon. I thought, oh my God.
I didn't know we had talked that long. I got so many jewels, from our discussion, and just really we connected. It was great.
I think we went into a zone. We went into a celestial chat room and just like chowed down.
Yeah, we did. We chowed down on the celestial.
On the stars, right? Absolutely. Cool.
Tell me, or tell our viewers, because we've already had this conversation, but let's talk about where we are right now and what's causing, kind of fear and chaos and restriction and all those things that are, making people feel a little uneasy right now. And how can we move it into a different place, into a different energy?
Well, firstly, it's ongoing. Okay, so it's not a one and done kind of deal. It's ongoing. The process to just find some peace and is just, has to be committed to in that way or seen in that way. All right. It's interesting because one of the main reasons why astrology works to those who are skeptical or not certain where they are with it is because everything in life is cycles. Everything, the human lifespan, 24 hours, 1 hour, new millennium, marriage, everything is a cycle. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So to that end, we can extrapolate it to the position of the planets. Planets come together, they engage with each other in geometrical relationships, and they give us information by what correlations those coming together, those interactions play with human events. So, you can look at, okay, so what's going on now? And that's an important question that we are definitely doing this to address, but we have to see what's going on now within the context of where we've come from, what has seeded and brought us to this moment. So we can certainly hopscotch back a few decades or so, and we can hit on the Uranus-Pluto conjunction of 1965 in Virgo, mirroring a lot of the change and upheaval and revolutionary urge of members of society who felt like they were not being heard, not being seen, couldn't participate in life and accepted. The women's movement, the civil rights movement, the gay rights movement, all such new innovation came forth at that time. And then we can, move forward, and we can look at Uranus, part of that 1965 conjunction, meeting up with Neptune in 1993 in the sign of Capricorn. Now, interestingly, both are earth signs, right? So what are we talking about when we speak of earth? We're talking about structure and form and tangibility, systems, reality, logic from a reality perspective of what's here and now and proven, right? And we're also talking business. We're talking commerce. We're talking nature. So Uranus, Neptune, 1993 started a new cycle. That cycle's about 140 years coming together. We saw changes in terms of our how we thought about the corporate structure, how we thought about business. We did not realize at that time that Uranus, the god of awakening awareness and revolutionary urge, married with Neptune, the god of illumination and dissolving and vision and just new vistas in terms of where one can go spiritually, heralding the advent of the internet age in terms of computers starting to come into the mainstream. Not really fully until I think around, was it 95 to 98, okay? But we started to see change in the consciousness by these kinds of changes. And then we fast forward to 2008, Neptune comes into Capricorn, and we start to see immediately transformative changes that are very, very unsettling in terms of our existing structures and forms. And that's where we have kind of been. Pluto in Capricorn, paving the way for what we are experiencing now and what we're moving into in 2019. So I prepared a PowerPoint presentation here that, let's see how I get that. Okay.
As you're working on that, I was thinking about what was going on with me in 1993. Boy, that was a big change. 1993, I had, that was an awakening for sure. Like, wake up, you're back in, you're back home now.
You have to enable my screen share.
Oh, okay. Didn't know I could do that. Let's see.
Yeah, so the aspect came together in around February. I remember very, very clearly it was 1993. And 1993, as you may recall, was the first World Trade Center bombing. Yes. Now, of course, Uranus rules revolution, rebellion. Of course, one person's rebellion is another person's anarchy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right.
Just a little question here. Do you know how I enable your screen share? I thought that you had.
Well, at the bottom of the screen here, you should see some icons that say, one says invite, the other says participants. You'll see a green one that says share. I think that's it. If not, then
if I share, it's going to share my screen.
Right. Let me click it again. Yeah, it just says host disabled.
I think I know. Stop this video. Allow record.
So yeah. So
I think I just made you a host, and I think that should help. See if you can do it now.
Okay, let's see. Perfect.
Yay.
Yes, okay.
We're such technical wizards.
I know. So yeah, so what I did, and the reason why I did the PowerPoint was because I wanted to just sort of have a visual to touch upon, the different aspects. I'm calling 2019 the pause as we segue into the paradigm shift in the 2020s. I feel like we've been in something of a segue really since 2015, which is interesting because I left off in my decade jumping at Pluto entering Capricorn in 2008. Well, as you well know, in 2012, mid-year, Uranus and Pluto came back together again at a 90-degree angle. That would be in the moon sun cycle, monthly cycle would be the first quarter position. And that kicked off at seven conjunctions, 7 coming togethers between 2012 and 2015. And I was describing that time as like the jackhammer breaking up the concrete. That after 2015, we would feel the reverberations. Well, that is the segue that I kind of, how I've named the period from 2015 as we move into the 2020s. So 2019 is a bit of a pause because we don't really have any major coming togethers of the outer planets. We don't have any conjunctions, new cycles being started or anything to that effect. And so you can, from that perspective, it can be seen as a pause, but of course to us, it's going to feel anything but. So how I'm kind of looking at it, there's a few key takes on the year. The first is the elemental energies and what they represent and how they're going to show up. We're going to see a predominance in earth, and we're going to see a little bit of a lesser dominance in fire as the two main kinds of elements that will show up, okay? Then we have eclipse activity. We have some significant activity this year. I think we have like 5 or so coming together.
Don't we have one more this month?
Yes.
For those of you that, because this won't be aired until February 18th, today is January 13th, right? 13th?
Oh, today is the, should be the 9th, I believe.
Oh, the 9th. Okay, so I'm rushing it.
2019, yeah. Yeah, we just had an eclipse, a solar eclipse on the 6th of January at 15 degrees of Capricorn. On the 21st of January, we will have a total lunar eclipse at 0 degrees of Leo. 0 degrees of any sign is hugely significant, but I'll touch upon that when I kind of come to the eclipse activity section. But for right now, I'm just kind of like top line, directing the energies to like some of the bullet point perspectives I think that are going to stand out this year during the pause. And again, it's going to really seem anything like a pause, but it is from the perspective that the outer planets, there are no major outer planet aspects that are kind of like moving the energy forward. So the outer planets, as I've been speaking, Chiron is significant this year, Uranus is significant, Neptune, Pluto, okay? And then lastly, we have the lunar nodes transiting this year in Cancer, Capricorn. So these are the 4 areas that I'm seeing that are significant, even though the overall volume for the year, you could say, is low as compared to, let's say, last year, when we had Uranus move from the sign Aries into the sign Taurus, which is always significant when outer planets shift into new signs. It means a new perspective globally, of course, because it's affecting everybody. And we had Chiron, the minor planet that symbolizes healing, move into the sign of Aries, the start of a new cycle of experience. So hugely significant shifts in terms of that in 2017. Okay, so Capricorn. One of the signs in the earth element that is significant this year. And why is that? Because Pluto is still transiting in Capricorn, and it is being joined by Saturn in Capricorn. Now, we could spend, this is a half-an-hour discussion. We could spend literally a week alone on each and every one of the planets, let alone the elements, let alone eclipses. So there's so much more to it, but the focus of this is not so much to get bogged down in terms of, maybe details around the astrology, but rather, okay, being that this is the astrological emphasis, how can I work with it? What can I do, okay, without having to become an astrologer? So earth element, Capricorn. So firstly, understanding that Capricorn is a cardinal sign, a term we use in astrology that denotes the signs that coincide with the beginning of seasons. Capricorn starts on the winter solstice, so it begins winter. Therefore, it, like the other signs that start seasons, are signs of leadership, of activity, of initiation, of stepping forward, and consequently can create crisis, because the energy is to make change, to push oneself forward in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So Capricorn, with that kind of energy, is manifesting in the earth element, which is to initiate action, to use my resources, use my skill sets, my talents, my abilities, along with what I have dominion over, what I have influence over, in order to meet my goals, in order to achieve my goals, my ambitions. Okay, so it's an ambitious sign, it's an ambitious energy, it's about manifestation, it's about getting somewhere, it's about rising up to a level of higher significance, and therefore a higher level of achievement and self-respect. So a way to really kind of think about Capricorn this year as it relates to each and every one of us is, what have I been struggling to manifest? Has it happened yet? If it happens, maybe it's time to let it go. Maybe it's time to just throw in the towel and start anew. When one door closes, another door opens. Because you can struggle and struggle and struggle, and if it's not working, if you haven't made it work, you have two choices. You can either let it go and move on, or you can refocus and redouble your effort. So it's one or the other. But it's not about staying in the same kind of relationship with whatever it is. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's really time to get on with it, because Capricorn is about showing and proving results, and this is all oriented towards you and what you want to manifest. Laying the foundation one step at a time, being the CEO of you. Okay. So if you have been more focused on other folks, other things, other goals, other people's needs outside of yourself, this is a time where the energy of Capricorn, the energy of the earth element, which is all about work, all about applying yourself physically in a tangible way, is apply that to you and what you've not been giving attention and time to, because you're part of the equation as well. We all have duties and responsibilities, and sometimes you can get so caught up in that you forget what really has meaning for you. So it's really about I like to say, getting back to nature, yours. Get back to your nature, Capricorn rules Mother Nature. Get out in nature, by yourself, walk, be amongst the trees, be amongst the earth, see what comes through, okay? So that's one way of kind of dealing with that Capricorn aspect of what's happening this year. And also recognizing that the nature of the planets involved are going to change things. So Taurus is the other element, the other sign. Taurus is about grounding yourself. Grounding yourself is a spiritual practice. Staying connected via your breath, breathing. Keeping it simple. Using your common sense instincts. Letting nature be your guide. Getting out in nature, as I said before with Capricorn. Capricorn rules Mother Nature. Taurus is about being able to be centered, still, and focused on what it is that you are attempting to create. It is a very creative sign. And Taurus has the capacity to be able to generate value. So something that doesn't have much value in the beginning, let's say, so you have $100 in your pocket. It has $100 worth of value. Investing it properly and getting a nice 10% return, now that is a Taurian undertaking. You've now increased the value, a piece of wood that you shape into something. Taurus has the capacity to create value out of things. So what is your value? What do you value? Okay. And connect to that. And again, the grounding and staying connected to the breath. Taurus is a sign with an image of an animal. So I have some images here. What animals really speak to you? What is it about the animal that resonates with you? What is the characteristics? Like, for instance, when Uranus went into Taurus, I found I happened to come across a picture on Bing, Bing Images, when you use it as a search engine, of an African water buffalo. I was absolutely captivated. I made it my wallpaper. I just adore looking at and gazing upon the image, because it's a very up close image of this water buffalo. What is that all about?
Yeah.
I asked myself, why am I so attracted to it? Why? I realized because, first of all, it's timely. It's a buffalo, which is relational to Taurus astrologically, right? But it represents Taurian traits. It's rooted. It's nature. It's a natural animal. It's wild. It's instinctive, and it's strong. And you can't move it easy. So some of the characteristics there. So what animal speaks to you? Beautiful picture of a lion, lioness, very regal, very elegant. Certain characteristics, whatever you find is attracting you in terms of a specific animal, there are traits in that animal's energy that are speaking to you that perhaps you want to cultivate and bring out of yourself. So use nature as a guide, okay? Fire is the other element that's important this year. Jupiter is in the sign that it rules, Sagittarius. So with all of the earth energy, as I've described it, bringing fire energy to it, it can be so wonderful in terms of keeping you inspired. Fire is about inspiration, enthusiasm, outgoingness, warmth, just adventure. You need to have something that really shakes up the solidity and the stability, the stableness of Earth. And you can work with fire this year in terms of that, like it's literally, how do I light my own fire? Literally, because that also can allow you the inspiration that helps you to employ the earth energy in order to manifest and create what it is that you'd like to really have some great forward motion on this year. So use the fire, understanding of fire, to broaden your horizons. I like to say, challenge your chains. What is keeping me chained down and unable to advance? And we all have something somewhere in our life that if you just can look at it objectively, you can say, I'm still dealing with this. So challenge your chains, aim for the next level. What does that look like? Not so much I have to see what it looks like, but just I'm taking that leap of faith to whatever it looks like. Fire up your will and do you. So important this year, so very important, because the human race is undergoing evolution. That's what all of these astrological placements are speaking to, okay? We are seeing a lot of energies play out in the larger consciousness, nationally, globally, where we're seeing these autocratic leaders with tyrannical aims who don't seem to care for the people, who are being very, very extreme in how they're engaging with the public, okay? And our institutions are being shaken up. I mean, this is what Pluto and Capricorn does. It shakes up and it really destroys that which is no longer suited to what you need to become and what you are being. It changes things. It transforms, it rehabilitates. And the whole overall purpose, while it may seem, it is frightening, it is death, is to really get one to more of a place of empowerment. So when you have these kinds of intense energies, and then we have Saturn joining it, Saturn, the planet that rules society and structure and system and form and doesn't like change, and with Pluto, which is like, the god of death, these are some pretty intense energies that we are at the mercy of right now. So how do we handle it? Overall, get back to you, attend to you, your health, your wellness, your inspiration, your vision, your groundedness. Because if each and every one can do that, we start to create the kind of energy that is working at a higher level, that starts to hit a tipping point and we can see mass change. So each and every one has to be responsible for itself. So that's the elements there. We've got eclipse activity happening. I mentioned that at the very beginning. We've got what, 5 eclipses, and look at all of this activity happening in Cancer Capricorn. 1, 2, 3, 4. So solar eclipses are so significant, you know, so significant because they represent new beginnings, an opportunity to take in more life. In the solar eclipse, the moon passes over the face of the sun, when it's a total eclipse, completely blotting out the sun. And for a period of time, if that eclipse occurs in the daytime, you go from day to night. It's like, remember the eclipse of 2016, where the Great American Eclipse, where it completely blotted out the sun? If you were in the area of totality that could see that, all of a sudden, here you are midday, and you can see stars. You can literally, see night sky. And that's very important symbolically. It's like an opportunity to bring what is unconscious, what is subconscious, into the conscious awareness is represented by the sun in the daytime time of day. So you can see what is happening beneath the surface. And then from that, be informed and can work with the energy. So solar eclipses are important. They kick off new energies and they herald shifts. There is a period with solar eclipses of 8 to 10 weeks prior to the exact date of the eclipse and after the exact date, where that particular eclipse is active. And you can see events that will happen and occur in your life that represent it. So Capricorn, 15 degrees right in the middle. Anybody who's got Cancer Capricorn in their chart, planets there, definitely affected. If you got Capricorn, up close and personal. If you got Cancer in opposition to you, it's going to come to you from the outside saying, time for something new in the area of feeling, of nurture, of emotional bonds and connections, okay? Aries, Libra will be stressed by these Capricorn, Cancer eclipses. And something has to shift within the individual, okay? Lunar eclipse, we got one coming up on the 21st. Total eclipse, again, blotting out the sun. So hugely significant. What is there at a subconscious, unconscious level that needs to be seen consciously to work with? So lunar eclipses are like intensified full moons, meaning that a full moon, you receive the fullest light from what has been started at the new moon. It is a time of total culmination, total ripeness, total richness of whatever had been seeded. You cannot get more than what you're getting at the full moon from whatever had been started. And so there is something of a feeling of culmination from this experience. And it also has a connotation of relationship. So you could find events happening in terms of relationships falling apart, relationships coming together. Again, these are very general top line statements. You really need to have an astrological session in order to know what's what for you. Some people are going to be affected, some aren't. If you have planets anywhere around 0 degrees of Leo and roughly to, I would say, 25 degrees of Cancer to 5 degrees of Leo, you can be affected by this, okay? And Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio. Moving on into the summer, we've got 2 eclipses in the summer, another total solar eclipse, and then we have the lunar eclipse, and then of course the day after Christmas, we have an eclipse of 4 degrees of Capricorn. So if you have any planets at these degrees, if you have any planets in Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, Libra, you're definitely this is a year of major shift for you. The eclipses are like heralds saying it's time to open up to new levels of experience, okay? So that's really significant. And joining these eclipses is the fact that the lunar nodes are in Cancer, Capricorn. The lunar nodes are the intersection of the moon's orbit with the Earth's orbit projected out into space, called the celestial equator, where the moon and that interaction happen in the northern hemisphere is the north node. Where it happens in the southern hemisphere is the south node. The meaning there, the south representing emotional habit patterns and orientations that are needing to be changed this lifetime, needing to be balanced in a way. And so the way to do that is through what the north node represents. So really, really significant this year. If, again, you have planets in Cancer, Capricorn, you're going to have what is called the nodal return. Talk a little bit about that in a minute, okay? So, any questions or any comments, Sally? You want to jump in?
This is so it's great. It's great to see it. You know, just kind of like, ooh, it's wonderful to. This presentation is fabulous. Thank you for doing it. I'm in my own mind. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I've got so much in Capricorn. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Well,
I'm Leo. I'm like 1 degree Leo.
I have my Saturn at 0 degrees of Capricorn in the first house, retrograde, conjunct my ascendant, and my moon in Cancer intercepted in the 7th. So I am right there with you, feeling it all the way. I know. Nobody gets out of this alive. Okay. The only difference between you, right. The only difference between you and I and the listener is the fact that, you know, we know this language.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's really something. But, you know, in looking at the outer planets, I have tended to use in my languaging about them, you know, the god of this, the god of that. When I first started studying astrology and I would hear references like that, I would immediately reject that. I mean, because it was like, you know, that's how the Greeks thought. We're modern people, we're intelligent, we have a lot of knowledge, you know, very skeptical about learning astrology through that lens. And here I am way now on the other side, and it's the god of this and the god of that. Why is that? Because it can feel as if a god has come to take up residence in your home, in your reality, and is having a major influence, you know? And that's just one way of seeing it. I mean, you know, there are many ways to look at it. You look at it however it helps you to work with the energy. That's first and foremost, you know. So this year is the Chiron's important because last year it began its first foray into Aries to start a new cycle of experience, but it retrograded back in Pisces. And we started to revisit some of the Aries, Piscean, Chiron energy of the wounded waters, wounded emotional beings, okay? Chiron has so many wonderful associations. But this year in March, it begins an 8-year transit in Aries. And so the archetypes, key archetypes for Chiron, understanding that this is an extremely rich mythology that is hugely significant and hugely symbolic for human psychological development as well as mass consciousness. Archetypes of the master teacher, the shamanic healer, and the martial artist. Okay, much more can be said about it, but these are the key points here to understand. You know, being able to sit with a master teacher is hugely impactful. I mean, I'm grateful for the teachers that have been in my life. They've come on all levels, but when we talk about Chironic teachers, we're talking about teachers of major spiritual awareness, major skill in what it is that they know, and in some ways, you know, mirroring what is in store for us once we can really work with the Chiron energy in our natal chart. So of course, what we're talking about here is where the outer planets are transiting in the sky during the year in relationship to your natal chart. So Chiron, a theme in Aries. Aries, of course, a yang sign, a fire sign, first sign of the zodiac. The theme of healing the wounded masculinity. We have many examples. How interesting that we should have the Me Too movement really pick up and take steam. I think we started seeing, I don't remember if it was the end of 2017, I think was when it really started to pick up, right?
Yes.
And so Chiron would have been in Pisces at that time. Pisces as the last sign of the zodiac, one of the manifestations that we have been seeing with Chiron in Pisces, as well as with Neptune in its own sign of Pisces, is the moral bankruptcy that is inherent within the individual, within the collective, okay? In this case, within the masculinity, and how that is wounding. You know, the inability of men to recognize the value in women, okay, beyond a certain outdated stereotype. We're attempting to bring a new consciousness around the feminine, around yin energy in this millennium. And Chiron and Aries can help with that. Rebalancing the yin yang and male and female. Because of course, if we're talking about wounded masculinity, and we have wonderful examples of what that looks like, starting from the Oval Office down through countless actors, actresses, celebrities who have been accused of sexual abuse, or people who have just been wounding in their behavior towards their fellow human over using power. You also have examples of this, you know, again in female. We can look at males and men and see that, but the same thing is the case in women. When women can't own their own power, when women can't stand in their own truth, you know, and you're starting to see a rebalancing of that as women step out and say, wait a minute, hold on. I do not have to sacrifice my self-respect, my physical body. Interestingly enough, Aries rules the first house. The first house is the physical body. My physical body is mine to determine what I do with, who I share it with, okay? And so you're really seeing, I think, Chiron and Aries being an important touchstone around the sexual understanding and identities and permissions that need to be negotiated now as the female begins to heal her wounded masculinity, as the male begins to heal his. Ultimately, because Aries, you could say a key phrase is I am, we're talking about recalibrating the sense of I am within the individual, that I am here, I am taking up space, I belong here. If I am living, if I am breathing, if I am awake and upright, I belong here, therefore I demand respect of myself, for myself, and from others. So strong Aryan energy, okay? So now we also look at Uranus. Last year, Uranus began entering Taurus. It retrograded back into Aries. This year, I think it was the beginning of the week, we saw Uranus enter Taurus, beginning a 7-year transit. So Uranus, the god of awakening. You could say of thunderbolts and lightning, in the sense that he brings events unexpected, that could be sometimes extreme, unusual, different, that completely.
Excuse me, I have to. You go right ahead. Excuse me, I have a little bit of an issue.
Okay.
I see my dogs are out in the road, so please go right ahead.
No,
Okay.
that's perfect. And it's so perfect that this should happen when we're talking about Uranus and Taurus. Because Taurus is a sign that is associated with animals. Interesting. And we just had an interruption. Something unusual, something unexpected popped up. This is so Uranus and Taurus. Sometimes the planets in the signs manifest literally like we're just experiencing right now. So Uranus shakes things up. It is the first outer planet, and therefore how it functions in our psyche as human beings is when we have found ourselves too caught up in existing reality, what has to get done, the connections that I have, my life, the structure of my life. You know, I'm reminded there was this great line in the Netflix series Grace and Frankie, starring Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. I think it was the very first episode of the first season. where she says, someone asked her, well, don't you want to be happy? And she says something to the effect of like, happiness? Nobody's happy. So we just get on with it. That attitude of this is what we have to do, so therefore we don't set our sights higher than that. That's what Uranus is coming to say. Time's up, time's up, time's up, time's up. It's time to recognize that there's more to life. There's more to life. There's more to you. There's more to who you are. It's time to express who you are a little bit more authentically and break the change. When I spoke before about challenger chains, that's what Uranus does as the revolutionary ideas, innovator, the iconoclast, is to shake things up. So the themes are awakening awareness. At the point of Uranus in our psyche, we are awakening that there's more to life. These revolutionary urges, to just overthrow whatever is holding me down and keeping me from feeling true to myself. Moments of genius, the iconoclast, the sense of I want to be free right now. I am no longer willing to be stuck and following some dictates outside of myself. I need to be who I am and show up as that and be true to that now, come what may, circumstances, etc., etc. So Uranus and Taurus is shaking up the body. Taurus, among many associations, would speak to the physical form. I think that within the 7 years that Uranus is going to move through there, starting, of course, this year, there's going to be such advancements regarding what we understand about the physical intelligence of the human body. Changes with regard to, of course, incorporating technology. There's a lot that's involved with it, and I've written a little bit about it on my blog post, and I'll be talking more about it as the year goes on. But for right now, just to know that getting into the body, breathing, grounded, listening to your body, letting your body give you the knowledge that you would normally go outside to somebody else, to the astrologer, to the therapist, to ask for. Not negating that, of course, it's one of the ways I make my living, but it's about understanding that you know best. And when you consult with someone like an astrologer, like a therapist, what you're seeking to do is to learn how to be your own best listener and to act on your own best impulses. Right? So manifestations for the year, unusual, unique, otherworldly experiences. People may find that they are extra sensitive in their form. They may find a sensitivity in their hands regarding items that you touch. You may find more sensitivity in your hearing, okay? One of the things that Uranus does rule is psychic experiences. You might find more of that happening in your reality depending on where it is in your chart and what it's doing. Revelations, flashes of insight, psychic experiences. I mentioned the body's physical intelligence and sensitivity to energy. These are new developments that you might find yourself experiencing, and in which case this year, it's wonderful to be able to really play with that and work with that, and make that the focus of manifesting who you really are at a different level.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Question. Okay, so when this energy moves into a house or into a sign, specifically with Uranus, when do you actually, like, for instance, I feel like I started really feeling this, or possibly Neptune, or all of it, I don't know, all of it combined, really about a year ago. So at what point do you really start feeling that particular energy? And do you feel it more? I have people ask me this question a lot. So do you feel it more at the beginning of it, the end of it? Does it wane as you get toward the end of the cycle?
So what I have found is what my first teacher who I apprenticed with had told me as a truth about how the outer planets work, in the sense that when they enter a sign, it's like a new reality is dawned, a new wake-up call. It's like, hi, I'm here. Good example. The day the day, literally, that Chiron entered Pisces was the day of the BP oil spill in the Gulf. Now, what does Chiron symbolize? The wounded healer. What sign does it enter? Pisces, a water sign, ruling the oceans and big bodies of water and consciousness and spirituality. What happened on the very first day? The waters were wounded by oil, ruled by Neptune Pisces. That's an example of what happens. Here's another. When Pluto was transiting Sagittarius, I believe it started 1995 to 2008. Somewhere around when Pluto was about 26 degrees, I want to say 26, 27 degrees. I think it was around April of 2005, April, the second quarter 2005. I remember it very clearly because we lost power on the day that this happened. So Pluto, right? Violence, death, transformation. In Sagittarius, a sign of higher education, of foreign people, foreign ideas, philosophy, okay? University, college. What happened during that time? We had the Virginia Tech shooting. Violence, mass death, and also, I forgot to mention, the outer planets rule the masses of people. So the collective, the larger collective. We had a shooting of quite a few people, a huge amount, done at a university by a foreign person. It was a literal manifestation at the end of the sign. So they can manifest literally, and what you will find is that if you have planets in the sign, you will begin to feel the energies much sooner before it kind of approaches, I would say, in orb, a term that we use to mean within a certain distance. So you said that you have planets, do you have planets in Taurus or Pisces?
No, no, I have Neptune in the second house.
Okay.
So, that could be, possible.
No, in what sign? I mean, what I'm asking is that Neptune is transiting in Pisces. So do you have any planets in Pisces?
No, just Neptune.
Okay.
Just
Okay. So in the case of Uranus and Taurus, let's say if you had planets in Taurus, if you had planets in Pisces, you would begin to feel the effect of the outer planet moving into that sign sooner, let's say, than myself. I have no planets in Taurus. I have no planets in Pisces. So when Neptune entered Pisces, it was exactly 4 degrees away from my Pluto in opposition. From the time it entered, I started feeling like something wasn't right. I have no Pisces in my chart. And it certainly was within orb, and it has been in opposition to all my Virgo planets. So it really knocked me for a loop, and I'm still dealing with it. So it can be that way. So the themes of Neptune this year, it's transiting, moving through Pisces, 14 to 18 degrees. So if you have any planets in Pisces and Virgo, Pisces and Virgo, Gemini and Sagittarius, around those degrees. And I would say, several degrees on either side of it, you will feel the Neptune and Pisces energies. The themes are Neptune functions in our subconscious as the dissolver. What is it dissolving? How we have deluded ourselves, the illusions that we are living and that we are seeing that we don't even realize. It is also known as the illuminator, illuminating awareness. But in order to do that, you have to recognize how you've been in denial. You have to look at why you are discontented. Why are you not happy? Neptune invites a new view in, a new perspective. To get to the imagination, work with your imagination as a means of cultivating the new vision. Creativity, allowing yourself to play, allowing yourself to dream, allowing yourself to open up in these very sensitive ways. Neptune's actions in some ways can be so much more destabilizing than Uranus or in Pluto, because you have no recourse. It's like you're in quicksand and it's sucking you in. What can you hold on to when you're caught in quicksand? Nothing. What can you hold on to when your home is just being completely burned away in the wildfires that they have in California? What can you do? You can do nothing but hope that you get out, your loved ones are out, and you stand there and you watch your life, go down in flames. All you can do is start over. So these are very, very powerful energies, the outer planets. Then we go to Capricorn this year, continuing its transit through 20 to 23 degrees of Capricorn. So again, any planets you might have in your chart, particularly Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, Libra, that are 20 to 23 degrees, or look at several degrees on either side of that, okay? Maybe from, 15 degrees to 28 degrees, what can be impacted by this Capricorn transit. So what are the themes? Death, metaphorically, metaphysically, could be literal. Rehabilitation, transformation, empowerment, facing our inner darkness. That's what Neptune, how it functions in the transits and in the chart. Self-renewal and healing from health crises, for a greater integrity and a greater sense of resiliency, and to know that you faced your own inner turmoil and you have come through. So Pluto can give resiliency and greater integrity of the system when you have survived what didn't kill you. So that's saying what don't kill you makes you stronger. That's Pluto all the way, baby. All the way. Pluto is destiny. Is what is your destiny? It's your destiny. And because it takes time, just like with Neptune, just like with Uranus, to transit through a sign, everybody born within a certain time frame, wherever these outer planets are, these are generational. They're imprinted by the same generational psychology of their culture. And it plays forth. So like the children being born under the Pluto and Capricorn time, what are they seeing? Deprivation, difficulty, lack consciousness, which we as humans all have to some degree. But certainly the kids coming forward, that's part of their shadow material, Now, however much it plays out is up to the individual and the individual's self-awareness. So lastly, we have the lunar nodes this year transiting in Capricorn and Cancer. The South Node, Capricorn, the North Node in Cancer from 28 degrees to 8 degrees. The nodes of the moon, the lunar nodes, as I described earlier, move backwards. So as you can see, starting from the latter degrees, moving down to the beginning degrees before it moves out of that sign into Sagittarius, Gemini, which will start happening second half of 2020. So the transiting nodes, whatever they hit in your chart, means that in a sense it's a karmic meeting. Whatever that planet is, whatever that house is meant to come into greater awareness. Kind of like the karmic chickens coming home to roost. How are you doing there? What are you doing there? Time to look at it. Time to show up with it. Time to deal with it. Okay. And there is a sense of looking at what hasn't been handled properly with regard to it when you look at the transiting nodes to planets in your chart. But it could also bring that part of you, as that planet represents in your natal chart, to public attention in some way, to public notice. And public doesn't have to mean, celebrity on a stage. It could simply mean in your community, So Capricorn is representing work, responsibility, accountability, and maturity. When the South Node hits something, how are you doing with that? Cancer, the opposite sign, and the way forward as it relates to your own personal spiritual growth and personal development. is attempting to bring in more of a sense of feeling awareness, sensitivity, softening, and a protectiveness of self and others, as an antidote from too much Capricorn energy. So lots going on. And I guess I would describe it for 2019 as at a lower volume, maybe, but no less impactful, no less impactful. This is why my advice is always to get back to you. Whatever's going on in our politics, out in the world, you know, there's going to be war, there's not going to be war. We're at the threat of so much that we can sense, that we see in our media, but that we don't even know. So best to just get back to you. All you can do is create your world. All you can do is create your reality. And if you can just put the focus not on, as I said at the beginning, techniques that can help you stay centered and grounded, not as a one and done, but as a ongoing practice. So it's how can I recalibrate? Just learning how to keep recalibrating, bringing yourself back to center. That's the whole key. And to move on with what has meaning for you. And in doing so, and community, can't forget that. We need community, very much so. Look at what so many people are starting to accomplish on the local level, because they see that our government is not functioning the way it's supposed to, that the office of the president has been corrupted in a way that no one could imagine. So a lot of people are coming together on a local level to make things happen. And that's so empowering, because you rediscover what you can do. And that's what it's all about. And I think that's what's going to be helpful to everybody this year.
Wow. That's some great stuff. You know, I'm thinking, I was thinking when you were saying that, I was thinking about how proud I was of those kids that from Florida that
Marjorie Stoneman.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are really I think that generation is really just they got it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I am so high on the millennials. You know, I hear, of course, I'm born in the later years of the baby boom generation. I meet a lot of colleagues in my generation, as well as folks in Gen Xers that, are really down on the millennials. I'm not, because I realize that they see the madness, and they're not trying to hide it. They're not trying to pretend. They're like, you know what? This is not right. I'm not participating in this. And that can show up a lot of ways, coming into job interviews in flip-flops and shorts, right? When, our generation would be like suited down and properly turned out, because that's how you were raised. That's what you need to do. I'm not saying that how they're showing up is the way that, is appropriate in a business context, but I'm pointing to it as an example of, I'm not participating in this madness that you people have created. I really have high regard for them for that perspective, because I didn't think that way. It was all about, what do I have to do, in order not to have the hammer come down on me. These kids, I look at these kids and it's like, they're out there making moves. I mean, look at what they put together in no time through social media. A mass demonstration in multiple cities in this country and in Europe against gun violence.
Yeah. That's amazing. And they're young millennials too. We're not talking about, the older ones, these are young ones. I'm very impressed with them. And every time Absolutely. I get a good conversation going with somebody of that age, it's always so meaty.
Yes. Yes. And it makes you think. It challenges, our perceptions on things. It challenges what we have been taught. And that generation's coming forward, with a bit of a new consciousness, because of course, remember, Pluto was in Sagittarius at the start of the millennium, right? So the millennials are kids who come of age in the year 2000, right? So that means that they had to have been born in 89?
89.
Yeah, okay. So interestingly enough, in 1989, we had the conjunction of Saturn and Uranus at 29 degrees of Sagittarius. If that don't describe millennials, nothing does.
Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
You got it. Sagittarius is the sign of personal freedom. I am the boss of me.
That's right.
And you're not going to tell me, right? You're not going to tell me, you're not going to drive your truth down my throat.
That's right. That's
And, you know, and standing for something that has meaning and principle. I mean, and also Neptune was in Capricorn during that time frame. It was at 8 degrees, beginning degree, the first decade of first 10 degrees of Capricorn at that time. So a dissolving of existing structures and existing forms and how we're looking at things and how we're taught to see things, you know, backed up with that Uranus-Saturn bit, you know, society like changing and upheavals with regard to what we believe. So yeah, they're like, no, we can go beyond this. We can do better. It's like, yeah, I'm excited. They're our way out.
That's why they're going to save us. And then they're going to have to take care of the rest of us old baby boomers. That poor thing. Poor things. But maybe they'll fix everything before they have to. Golly. Oh my gosh. This has been so wonderful. I know you have a gift for the viewers. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes. So I thought I have a service that I offer called Specific Topic. It's typically a short consult. And I thought that I would offer that as a free introduction. So it's really just focusing on a specific topic, you know, relationship, health, money, career, whatever. And for a 30-minute at most session for free in order to just, you know, connect and share what I see and go from there.
That's very generous. That's awesome, Cheryl. That's awesome.
Terrific. So
gosh, I can't tell you how much this, I mean, you're just a wealth of information. You're just, your waters run really deep. And I feel so blessed to have gotten to know you. And I feel like we're going to be friends for a long time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Really,
So people just have to go to the to my site, astrologyempowers.com.
We'll have the link. We'll have the link down below this, so they can just click on that link and get right to you.
That's right. That's right.
It'll take them to your site, correct?
Yes.
So they can book another book a session as well as take advantage.
Yeah. So what I would love is, you know, to have that as an intro, and you know, hopefully if people like, you know, the exchange, then they'll book a full session with me, and we can go from there.